Ladies and gentlemen, this is internet personality Vangelus, and I reviewed some hands for MP-10 Convoy. These are a different pair of hands. These are the Eness hands. When I reviewed the KFC MP-10 hands, I got some loud feedback saying, "Fool! The Eness hands!" which I had not kept track of at all, so I got some. They come in a sick red tin. There's a gold thing, but that's for later. We're going to talk about the hands first. These things include a little screwdriver to help you install them, or uninstall other hands if you've got to. The way these hands work is there are a triplicate of screws on the palm, and there are a bunch of fingers that will fall apart scarily if you don't flip this thing the right way around when you pull it apart to then attach it to Prime's wrist. The fingers have different lengths, so if they do fall apart, line them up before you put them back in, or you're going to sit there muttering to yourself about middle fingers being on index finger spots or vice versa. Anyway, once you have it installed, the Eness hand looks pretty good. As you can see, it's got spread, which is like one of the first things I want out of a dedicated, what I would call high-end kind of hand. The f-stop is changing. The next test is to see whether or not this thing can form a fist. And I mean, it can, but can it form a really good one? There's a decent amount of curl here. The part that makes these fingers different lengths is just the final digit on those knuckles, which means that it still looks kind of funny, because everything up until the final digit is not a different length. It looks weird. But as a fist, it kind of works, and there is an additional hinge here on the thumb, where it's a ball socket hinge and hinge, and that's the key. That's what makes this set of hands form a slightly better fist than the KFC hands, which only had a ball socket joint and then a hinge on the thumb. As you can see here, the thumb just doesn't look quite as natural when these are hands. Also, as people pointed out, I thought this was good enough. But yeah, this looks way more like the plastic on actual MP-10. It's glossier, it doesn't have this like matte finish. It's a bolder shade of blue that matches his legs better. For sure. For those of you who just want to count the articulation, it's a ball socket joint at the base of the knuckle, and then 1 or 2 hinges on each finger. The thumb is a ball socket joint at the base of the palm, and then there's a hinge right above it, and another hinge right there. There's a slot in here, and I could use the little gun that came with MP-10, but I really want to know if the gun that came with the KFC set worked on this guy. Doesn't work as well on the other hand, because this thing is still a little bit janky with its tab tolerances, but it does work quite happily over here on old lefty. Pegs in quite happily, and solidly. Get the fingers around it, and yo, he's got a gun. So, we'll move over to the other hand here to talk a little bit about overall look when spread and etc. So I'll spray his fingers out for all to see, and pop in another comparison with the KFC hands in a similar position. And once again, like, it's comparable as far as the design of the fingers, but the thumbs, the Eness thumbs, I would say categorically superior. And also, as you can see, the finish on the Eness hands just looks a bit nicer. Thing is, this thing's grainy feel meant that all of the joints pretty much worked happily. On the Eness hands, because everything is glossy, you gotta play with these 3 screws a little bit. Not like full turns, I'm talking like 1/8 turns and test all the tolerances. I've got the fingers to a place where I kinda like them, but because it's so smooth, sometimes, let's see if this one does it. Alright, this one's not doing it. Sometimes if the tightness of the screws is not quite right, if the tolerances are not quite right, I've had these fingers, for lack of a better term, like spring back ever so slightly. And the thumbs, I believe, were not designed, like, they are tight enough when the hands are by themselves. With the added inner tension of the wrist peg these are attached to, I found both thumbs quite loose. This one not as much as the other, but I modified both with a bit of floor polish on the ball socket joint. I filmed a little bit before I did that so you could get an example of just how loosey-goosey those things were once attached. I found that very surprising, albeit not as critically important as any of the 4 fingers. It was annoying because the part where it would start falling around was right where I wanted it to be for a calm, open hand pose. But otherwise, these are fairly choice. Like, you've got, you know, decent spread. You can do the Vulcan pretty decently. You can give an A-OK kinda A-OK. And despite a somewhat loose thumb joint, thumbs up is entirely possible. So, I dig these hands. Yes, they are better than the KFC hands. I think in some cases they're also a little bit pricier. Maybe it's because of this hot tin you get with them. But it might also be because of the Key to Vector Sigma keychain that you also get with them. Keychain, I mean key ring. And when I say key ring, I mean literally that ring that's inside the Ziploc bag. Because it's not attached to the key. It's a separate thing you can attach if you want this to be a key ring. This thing's just it's a piece of metal. And I have not actually tried getting him to hold it at all. Given the way that these fingers work, I don't see this as a thing he's gonna hold anytime soon. Let's see if I put this end in. Like, this feels like a key ring, first and foremost, more than anything. Yes, this ain't... Okay, there. It's balanced against his palm. Nope. I don't think he's gonna hold that. But, yeah, if you are still looking for hands for your Masterpiece Prime based on the MP-10 mold, and you want the better hands, Eness hands are the way to go. Having messed with these and having messed with some of the later KFC hands, I think there's a bit of credence to the, I think still rumor, that whoever worked on the Eness hands is now working on the KFC hands. Oh, before I forget, here's a shot of the hands folding up for the vehicle mode transformation, hopefully proving to you that they can do it. Now, if you're asking yourself the question, do I need posable hands for MP-10? Not really. I just like them. Once I got a taste of putting posable hands on Masterpiece Toy, I've had a lot of trouble letting that go. And once I heard real loudly about these Eness hands being so much better than the KFC hands I thought were already pretty cool, I had to try them out, and people were right. Your budget is your budget, and if you think the KFC hands are going to do what you want for you, then I guess go for them, but some of the people spoke, and they were correct. The Eness hands are the better choice if money ain't no object. Anyway, this has been Internet Personality Vangelus, and that's been a review of a pair of hands. Is that the last time we're going to see a review of a pair of hands on this channel? No siree.